Did you know that nowadays you can easily be denied boarding, even if your suitcase perfectly fits the size requirements? And what if your phone treacherously runs out of battery during the inspection? It can be confiscated right there. And most outrageously, some passengers are suspended from flying due to ordinary medicines or the presence of only 2 small bags. Yes, folks, with the new draconian security and carry-on rules introduced under the Trump administration and now reinforced by the TSA, airports are turning into a real nightmare. And, unfortunately, many Latin American passengers are completely unaware, remaining outside this information wave. Today, I will reveal to you 8 shocking rules that have already come into force and are turning the travels of millions of people into hell. And believe me, this is not an exaggeration. At the end, I will share with you a list of the most common mistakes to avoid if you don't want to be left on the ground while your plane soars into the sky without you. So, number 1. Changing the weight limit. Let's start with something that seems elementary, but is already causing delays, unnecessary expenses, and just wild stress. This is about the weight of carry-on baggage. The new TSA rule states that the maximum allowable weight of your carry-on baggage on international flights to or from the United States is now, drumroll, only 6 kilograms. Yes, you heard right, exactly 6. It doesn't matter if your suitcase fits the dimensions. If it weighs even a kilogram more, you will be ruthlessly forced to check it in. And then the hellish marathon of additional fees begins. Thousands of passengers were stunned right at the gate. People who were flying light to save money are now forced to pay more than a huge suitcase would cost, due to an innovation that no one really warned about. The most outrageous thing is that this rule hits the most vulnerable, those who travel with a minimum of things. A winter jacket, vital medications, a work laptop, and you have already imperceptibly exceeded the limit, without even suspecting it. My advice, don't trust your feelings. Before you leave home, weigh your suitcase. 6 kilograms is ridiculously low. Don't play with fire. And second, be prepared for humiliating checks during transfers. Imagine, you are making a transfer in Miami, Dallas, or Houston. Exhausted from a long flight, you rush to your gate, and then you are told, "Sorry, sir, you will have to go through the entire inspection procedure again." Even if you are just in transit through the United States, be prepared to be forced to pick up your carry-on baggage, rescan it, and go through another round of security checks, as if you had just crossed the border. This innovation has already turned into a nightmare for many travelers who have missed their connecting flights. Imagine, elderly people, exhausted parents with children, tired from a long journey. All of them are forced to languish in endless queues, unpack their suitcases, and sometimes even take out all their gadgets, liquids, and even medicines that have already been approved in the country of departure. The new scanning has become much stricter. Anything that raises the slightest suspicion, even if it is allowed, can cause a temporary delay of your baggage and, as a result, a disrupted transfer. Therefore, when packing for a trip, prepare as if the United States is your final destination. Organize your baggage so that everything you need is at hand, because even if you are just making a transfer, you may be forced to turn everything inside out. And now we have come to the most painful issue, causing a wave of outrage: medicines without a visible prescription. Be especially careful. Imagine, you, a tired traveler, are going through security at the airport, anticipating a long-awaited vacation or an important meeting. And then, out of the blue, your baggage is delayed. The reason? Ordinary medicines that you have always taken with you have now suddenly become suspicious in the eyes of the TSA. It turns out that TSA agents have started to find fault with medicines that previously did not raise any questions. Pain relievers, sleeping pills to help you get through the flight peacefully, even vital syrups prescribed by a doctor. All of this can be confiscated if you do not have the original packaging or a printed prescription, preferably in English. Elderly people who have to take medication on schedule suffer especially. They put the pills in convenient pill boxes to avoid confusion. But now this can turn into a real problem. If you do not have a box, instructions, or anything that identifies each pill, be prepared for an intense interrogation or, even worse, a ban on boarding the plane. Therefore, please remember, if you are taking medication with you, be sure to bring a prescription and the original packaging. It doesn't matter that these medicines are completely legal in your country. It's all about how they look at checkpoints in the United States. And that's not all. Get ready for even stricter restrictions on liquids. Remember the 100 milliliters rule? Forget about it. Some American airports have lowered the limit to 80 milliliters. Yes, you heard right, 80 milliliters. So be vigilant and carefully check the volume of your bottles to avoid unpleasant surprises. And it doesn't matter how much precious liquid is sloshing around at the bottom of your bottle. If the label proudly displays 100 milliliters, say goodbye to it without regret. Perfumes with the scent of memories, creams like an elixir of youth, shampoos brought from afar, all of this is ruthlessly confiscated at giant airports like Miami, Dallas, or Houston. And the most annoying thing is that many travelers don't even suspect the new rules. They only find out when it's too late to do anything, standing in the doomed line for scanning. My advice, pour your treasures into transparent bottles up to 80 milliliters with clear markings. Forget about the luxurious original packaging if it exceeds the limit. These days, a simple bottle of shampoo can cost you more than the contents themselves. Number 5 on the list of annoyances is a dead phone. Has it ever happened to you that your phone treacherously died right before boarding? Before, it was just an annoying trifle. Now, it can become a serious problem. Enhanced TSA security measures require all your electronic devices, from small to large, to be ready to turn on at a moment's notice. Phones, tablets, laptops, digital cameras, wireless headphones, everything must be in full combat readiness. Imagine, you're rushing to your flight, looking forward to a long-awaited vacation or an important business meeting. But suddenly, at security, your phone becomes a headache. If a security officer asks you to turn it on and the battery is dead, it may raise suspicion. The consequences? At best, your gadget will be sent for additional inspection, and you risk missing your flight. At worst, you will simply be denied boarding until it is proven that the device is safe. Does it sound like a scene from a movie? Alas, this is the reality faced by passengers at major airports such as JFK, Miami, and Dallas. This is especially common for those flying in transit, already exhausted from a long flight and completely drained their phone. Therefore, my advice to you, before heading to the airport, make sure each of your devices is charged to at least 50%. Bring a portable charger and necessary cables with you. Don't rely on a free outlet at the airport. There may simply not be one. Remember, if you can't turn on your phone, you can't prove it's just a phone. And in our time, that can be a big problem. The 6th point, causing annoyance. Paying for a second bag has become commonplace. For many years, we managed with hand luggage and a small personal bag, whether it was a backpack, handbag, or bag with documents, medicine, and a snack for the road. But even this convenience is becoming a thing of the past. Some American airlines, especially at airports with a large flow of Latin American passengers, such as Atlanta and New York, have tightened control over what they consider excessive volume. What does this mean in practice? If you have hand luggage and a small additional bag with you, it is likely that you will be forced to check one of the items. And be prepared to pay for excess volume, even if both items meet the established dimensions. The most outrageous thing is that this rule is not reported anywhere when buying a ticket. You will find out about it already in the boarding line, when a representative of the airline unequivocally states that you need to combine all things into one item or pay. The elderly, who are used to keeping everything they need at hand, documents in a folder, medicine in a cosmetic bag, glasses and books in a backpack, suffer from this especially. And so they have to hastily rearrange things, experiencing stress and humiliation. Traveling on American Airlines? My advice to you, fit everything you need into one carry-on bag. If you can't do without additional things, take a foldable bag with you that you can hide. What used to be commonplace today can significantly hit your wallet. And one more important point, the digital declaration. Can you imagine? Now before the flight you are asked to declare the contents of your hand luggage. This system is already being tested on passengers arriving from Mexico, Colombia, Peru, El Salvador, and Panama. The declaration is submitted through a special travel pass application. There you need to indicate whether you are carrying electronics, medicines, food, or valuables. What if you don't fill out this declaration? Your name may be added to the additional screening list. This means that when your suitcase passes through the scanner, its contents will be automatically compared with what you indicated in the declaration. And if even the slightest discrepancy is found, even an undeclared notebook or package of pills, you will face a more thorough inspection. This innovation has already led to a series of frustrating delays, ruined trips, and immense stress. The most frustrating thing is that this is not mentioned at all when buying a ticket. Most people find out about this when standing at the boarding gate, or worse, when there is no way to connect to the internet and fill out this ill-fated form. My advice to you, before you travel, make sure your airline or immigration service requires this preliminary declaration. fill it out in advance, and be sure to save a copy. And if possible, print a paper duplicate as well. It is better to be safe than sorry, and then have to explain the contents of your bag to each immigration officer with trembling hands. Point 8. Legal, but suspicious. This is where it gets slippery. Today, security and immigration officers have the full right to deny you boarding, based solely on the contents of your suitcase, even if there is nothing illegal in it. It sounds incredible, but it has already happened. Real-life examples. Passengers carrying many empty bottles and wires were deemed suspicious because they look like technicians. At the airport, like in a labyrinth of suspicions, travelers with identical hygiene items in their luggage risk being branded as potential resellers. Boxes of supplements without a receipt are another reason for close attention. And the most alarming thing is that all this is decided subjectively, based on personal perception. If a security officer does not understand what you are carrying, if you do not speak English or cannot clearly explain the contents of your suitcase, they may simply refuse you boarding. This injustice is especially common on flights from Latin America. If your image does not fit the stereotype of an ordinary tourist in the eyes of the agent, you may become suspicious for no apparent reason. Therefore, my advice to you: put yourself in the shoes of a security officer and critically examine your suitcase. Ask yourself questions. Does everything look logical? Is there an explanation for everything? Can I convincingly explain the purpose of each item? If the answer is yes, attach documents or receipts to the items confirming their purchase. Remember, it is not enough to just obey the law. Today, you must be prepared to explain and justify every item in your luggage so that it seems reasonable in the eyes of security. The new rules at airports in the United States of America are radically changing the idea of flights, and this has primarily affected Latin American passengers. Now, it is not only the size of the suitcase that matters, but also what you are carrying, how you are carrying it, whether you can clearly explain the contents, and even whether you have declared it digitally. The most outrageous thing is that no one really explains these innovations. That is why we created this video. Have you encountered anything like this? Have you been stopped because of things that you did not even suspect could cause questions? Share your experience in the comments. Your story may help others avoid trouble. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to our channel. Here, we openly talk about what is happening, explain everything in simple language, so that your travels are calm, without fear and unpleasant surprises. Yes, we will tell you the whole